All right, everyone. Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Sam, and today I'll be going over a topic that I think all of you have in common, and that's where to place all these tough dwellings lately, right? Um, we at JE Brown, we understand your pain points, so we're doing our best to continue to give you options. We've been working hard to find more markets, and I'm happy to share with you today. Um, I'll be talking about some new markets as well as some older ones, refreshing your memory on older ones that we've had for a while. And I'm hoping that after today's session, you'll feel confident about how to go about shopping your risk with us. And it's my intent to make this session as informative and as educational as I can. And keep in mind that I'll be sending all of you a copy of today's presentation as well. Okay. So I'll be going over a few items with you today. I'll go over our main personal lines carriers for dwelling, and I'll explain their appetite individually. I'll also explain how to find the right path to the right carrier. Then I'll round it off by jumping into a web demo to give you visuals on how to find that path and how to submit a quote based on the carrier, okay? And at the end, I'll leave the floor open for some questions. And if I can't answer some of your questions, I'll be sure to get back to you with an answer. And keep in mind that you are in listen-only mode as well. So just be mindful. You're just going to end up having to type your questions out towards the end. Okay. So with that being said, let's get started. So here are our carriers, our main. These are the main personal lines carriers for dwelling that we've got. I've arranged them in order of popularity. We have American Modern, which is one of our main carriers. They're an admitted option and have lots of options as well. Rivington is a newer market option for us that is admitted as well, and they are primarily for brush. KW Specialty is also a new option that is non-admitted and has many options also to choose from. AU Gold is an existing non-admitted option that does plenty of risk types as well. And Chubb is an admitted option, and most of you know them already as a high value market. So American Modern. American Modern is great for lots of different dwelling types and just lots of different options with them. They write on admitted paper, but their brush appetite has mellowed a little bit this year. They still take brush, but they're a little on the mellow side nowadays. They have a wide range of occupancy classes that they'll take, and on top of that, they'll take multiple losses as well. Their dwelling offering is also robust, maxing out in the $1 million range for Cabe, and they have an online rater that's really simple and user-friendly, and you have binding authority as well. They also write a lot of other classes of business not related to dwelling that I haven't listed here today, but if you're familiar with them, then you know how much more stuff they also offer. Yeah, American Modern's a good option. Rivington Partners. So with Rivington, if you are in my territory and you've met with me recently, so I can explain this market, then you'll understand who Rivington is. They are a great new market option that we've recently added in order to help with primarily brush risks. They work in connection with American Modern. They're a great option. Their appetite for brush is really good too. So what that means about working in connection with American Modern is that when it comes to brush appetite, Rivington kicks in where American Modern phases out with regard to brush. They're a market that has the most aggressive appetite for brush, all while doing it on admitted paper, which in today's climate in California is basically unheard of. Due to this, they're a bit selective when it comes to dwelling classes, occupancy appetite, and losses. They will only take owner and secondary occupancies and no rental exposure. They will take prefab homes or modular homes on a permanent foundation but they will not write mobile or manufactured homes. They also max out at $4 million for coverage A, which also makes them a player in the high value arena. But please keep in mind that they will only write high value with high fire risk. So they're not going to be an option for your high value homes with a low fire score. Quoting them requires an application submission, which I will demonstrate in a moment. And the second most important part to that submission is making sure you have a brush qualification score that is specifically related to American Modern's brush appetite. And what that means is that they can only write risks that are outside of American Modern's brush appetite. So a quote submission without any kind of proof of that brush declination will basically end up getting you a decline because you need that piece of information. Okay, so keep that in mind. So KW Specialty. KW Specialty is one of our newer markets. We just brought them on board. It's a non-admitted specialty market that has a wide appetite range when it comes to dwelling types. Their brush appetite is on the mild side. I mean, they will take brush. They just call it on the mild side because they're not just as aggressive as Rivington. They'll take multiple losses, which makes them a great option for those challenge risks, as well as occupancy types. And as I mentioned, they have a broad appetite when it comes to dwelling classes. They'll also write builder's risk in course of construction. And while they have a mild appetite for brush compared to Rivington, they will also give you an option for a DIC if the brush risk is too high. Now, for those farmers agents in attendance today, that means that they will write those secondary wraps without having the primary, as well as the mobile and manufactured home wraps that you guys call wraps, the DIC. Another thing to keep in mind is that we can apply credits to help you win that business if you are up against a competitor's quote. So you just basically have to ask and we can help you out to win that business, and we can apply credits. And quoting is done by application submission, which I will demonstrate as well in a moment, okay? So AU Gold. AU Gold is a great market that we've had for a while now. They have a mild brush appetite, but they do have a nice appetite for multiple occupancy types. And like KW Specialty, they will write builder's risk and course of constructions with a nice option for $1 million in liability. That includes adding it to vacant as well. You also have the ability to write vacant on the DP3 form, which is pretty good. Multiple losses are accepted and rating is done online, which I will demonstrate shortly. And as I mentioned with KW Specialty, another thing to keep in mind is that we can apply credits to help you win that business if you are up against a competitor's quote. And as I mentioned before, all you have to do is just ask and we can help you out with credits, okay? Chubb. So Chubb, as all of you may know, Chubb is a high value market that is well known. They've been known to be the Rolls Royce of insurance. That's what they call themselves. They write on admitted paper, and as of late, they don't really want brush right now. They're a bit tight on brush, so don't think of them for brush. They have a special way of considering risk, which requires a certain replacement cost limits in geographical areas. They will write a decent mix of occupancies as well that also follow the same pattern with geographic locations. They also require a package to consider the risk, so keep that in mind. They will consider losses as well and are quotable by email submission to Tammy Pastorino. You'll also need a supplemental app that I will show you how to find in a few moments as well, okay? So, determining your path. This is the one I want you to be mindful of. I'll be sending you all a copy of this presentation, but what follows after this slide will be a website demo of what I'll be explaining right now. So this is in regards to finding your path with brush. So the first thing you want to do is you want to use our brush map tool, which I'll show you shortly. That tool will have a few options to choose from, like dwelling type, occupancy type, if your risk has open claims, and if you're open to going with a non-admitted carrier. Now, these factors will help our staff determine the type of risk you need help finding, with the right market. which in turn will help you by taking the guessing game out of finding the right path or the right market for what you're looking for your risk, okay? It takes a guessing game out of it. And now this is primarily based on brush risk, what I'm talking about now. But when looking to find the right path for risks that are not in high brush zones, but are, let's say, claims challenge risks or unique occupancy types or interesting dwelling types, you'll have to rely on having an appetite guide and knowing which market to go with, or you can call anyone in our staff to help you. We're always eager to help because we know that it's hard to remember everybody's appetite. So just keep that in mind. I'll show you shortly how to get to appetite guides and user manuals and stuff like that. But I want you also to feel confident that you can give us a call, and anybody in our staff is going to be able to help you find where to place that risk if it's not based on brush. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into this web demo now. Okay. So as all of you know, you got to be logged into our website. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you how to get to the brush map tool, okay? There's two ways to get to it. You can go here on this big drop-down menu, and it's right over here, or you can go right to the little flame right there. When you click on that flame, it takes you to a page, and then you've got a link here that takes you to our brush qualification form. And all you got to do is fill in the blanks, choose your occupancy type, what type of home, if you're okay with going non-admitted, which we'll select, if you've got any open claims, any lapses in coverage, dwelling limit. You don't have to have this, but it's up to you. If you do have it, that's fine. And for the sake of getting through this quickly, I'll just have this autofill. And you don't have to know protection class either, okay? And what you would want to do is select all three of these. Once you submit, you will get a response that looks like this, okay? So with this, if you look at this response, this is a response based on brush. And what it's telling me here is that none of our markets wanted this risk based on brush. However, they gave us an option here for Rivington. So I will show you how to get a quote for Rivington. But if you recall earlier, I said you will need a brush declination in order for Rivington to even consider your risk. This would be your tool here. This brush response with the declination that says American Modern won't take it would be part of that. And then let me show you how you would submit your quote request. What you would want to do is go back to your dashboard, which is the working end of our website. And you would want to come down, pretty easy process, and then just find Rivington, because Rivington happens to be by application submission. And then when you're in here, you've got some pre-qualification questions. We're going to say no to these, because if you say yes, then you won't be able to send anything. So we'll say yes for this one, no for this one. Press continue. You got your moratorium zip codes. And then all you do is upload your application along with your declination for brush and submit. And we are asking for 72 hours for a quote turnaround time. So keep that in mind, okay? So this is Rivington, okay? Let's say that email said to go with KW Specialty. KW Specialty is almost the same situation, but slightly different. The same in the fact that it's by application submission. And as I mentioned before, dashboard. Remember, dashboard takes you back to the working end of our website. You scroll down, you find KW Specialty, click on it. Once you open it, you have two options, one for DIC and one for full policy. You click on full policy, and all you do is upload your application, and these are your supplements. They're easily downloadable and fillable online. So if you want to download, you just click download, check them off, do what you have to do. As I said, they're fillable online. You save them, and then you upload them. Once you have all your stuff filled out, you submit, and you're good to go. And we are asking for 72 hours as well for quote turnaround time with KW Specialty. So with KW Specialty, you have another option, as I mentioned before, DIC policy. The DIC is slightly different, a lot easier. Just quick upload of your application, submit, and as I mentioned before, 72 hours for quote turnaround. So now that we've talked about the application submission process for both KW Specialty and Rivington, let's say that this response that I showed you earlier was good to go with American Modern. If you wanted to do American Modern, as some of you already may know, it's right over here on the dashboard under a single sign-on. They happen to be quotable online, and when you're logged into our website, you get magically logged into theirs when you click on their link, and you're ready to go. See, the system already knows it's me, and I can just start my quote here. Okay? Same goes for AU Gold. If AU Gold was an option when you did your brush score, AU Gold is set up the same way. Quotable online, click on their link, and you are automatically logged into their website. Once it loads, you click here, select your product, and you're ready to go to do your quote. Okay? The other option we talked about was Chubb. So Chubb is slightly different. It is by application submission. So I will show you how to get that supplemental, because as you recall before, when you submit for Chubb, you're going to send it to Tammy Pastorino here, okay? But I'm going to show you how to get that supplemental. Under this Services and Support tab lives a lot of different links. And what you've got here are your forms and your manuals. Both forms and manuals either link is going to take you to the same place. You can click on forms, and right here are all the forms in alphabetical order. So if you needed one for Chubb, here it is right here. All you do is fill it out, complete it, and send it to Tammy. Okay? Now that we've got this portion that I wanted to cover, I wanted to explain to you how to get to manuals, which is right over here. It's on the same page. But if, let's say, you wanted to specifically look for manuals, you can click on the same link and it takes you to manuals. Now, this would be in relation to finding a home for your risk based on dwelling type, losses, or occupancy type. And as I mentioned before, I know that it's hard to remember everyone's appetite. So even though I'm going to be sending you my slides here that have all this information for you, it's not that robust with enough information. So the manual here, the manual menu, has got everything you'll need. So let's say you wanted to go through the manual for KW Specialty. All you would need to do is click on that, and there you go. There's the manual for KW. Okay. And there's more manuals here. You've also got American Modern's homeowner. It's right in here. So as you can see, if you needed the manual and you wanted to figure out how to place your risk based on anything other than brush, you can come in here and find the manual. But I also wanted to stress the fact that you can also give us a call. We're eager to help you find a place to place that risk. Okay? So with that being said, I wanted to leave the floor open for some questions now. And if I can't answer some of those questions, I will be sure to get back to you with an answer. So feel free to type away any questions that you've got, and I'll see if I can answer some of them, okay? Okay, I see a lot of questions in here about emailing this presentation. Yes, to all of you who have asked if I'm going to send this to you, yes, I will definitely send you a copy of this. I've got a question here from Doug Kaplan. You're asking about my definition of mellow. I think what you're referring to is mellow brush, possibly. Yes, if I said mellow brush, it's because whoever is taking brush that's on the mild side is not going to be taking heavy brush like Rivington. So yes, they will take brush, but just not as aggressive as Rivington will. Okay. I see another question here about Rivington and maybe concentration of business, which basically means saturation. I don't have any feedback on that yet. I see a question here about the protection class limit to Rivington. They will write up into 8. They will consider 9 and 10 on a case-by-case basis. So don't be shy about submitting 9 and 10 PCs, but just keep in mind that they're going to review them really carefully. But they will consider them, 9 and 10s. Okay. There's a question here about will Rivington KW Specialty and AU Gold write homes under an LLC or corp? Yes. I see a question here about turnaround time for brush mapping. This is a loaded question that I hope I can answer clearly. When submitting for brush with your through our website, somebody physically has to run that brush map, and we usually try to get it done within the day. Sometimes within 5 minutes you get the response. Sometimes it'll be 30 minutes. Sometimes it'll be an hour. If you are, this is my suggestion, okay? This is what I've told people in my territory that I've trained on Rivington. If you require immediate, an immediate brush declination, I would highly suggest going into American Modern's quoting platform and getting through 2 pages of minimal information to get your brush decline. American Modern system will decline it right away, and then you can use that as a screenshot when you get that decline. You can use that screenshot and submit that with your quote, with your application. It works just as well as getting a brush declination from us. So I hope some of you might have paid attention to what I just said. You can use that screenshot of a brush decline from American Modern's quoting platform to submit for a quote request along with your application. Okay. Yes, with regard to the recording for this session, it should be available. Just feel free to reach out to me after I email this. I'm going to email these slides, and if you respond to me, I'll know who to send this recording to. It should be available at some point. Hi, there's a question here about which carriers will do an owner-occupied with an attached short-term rental, Airbnb rental. American Modern will do that, and so will KW Specialty. Hi, Mona. I see your question about DIC for farming. I will get back to you with that one. I'm not sure, but I will get back to you personally, okay? There's a question here about the Rivington button being added to the dashboard. Yes, the Rivington button should be live for everyone now. If you don't have it, feel free to reach out and figure out why it's not there, but everyone should have that Rivington upload button now. There's a question here about, do we need to map all locations before quoting? The question is yes and no. It just depends on whether or not you are uncertain about something being in the brush. But if you're not looking for something to place due to brush appetite, as I mentioned before, you'll have to rely on knowing appetite and where to find appetite guides, which I mentioned and I explained earlier for our carriers. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to send you these slides, but my slides are not as filled with as much information as possible that you might get out of an appetite guide. So even though I'm sending you these slides, I still would like to have you go into our appetite guide and find the appetite guides there under the manuals. Or always feel free to give us a call. We are more than willing to help you find a home for your risk, okay? So don't be shy, just give us a call and we'll help you. I see a question here about Rivington. Used to have a score of over 61 for wildfire. Yes, it changed. It dropped down to 41. So now they'll take scores that are 41 and above. And American Modern does 40 and below. For those of you who understand the wildfire score process with American Modern and Rivington. Unfortunately, there's a question here that says high value rental / landlord in high brush. Unfortunately, we don't have ultra high value for rental landlord options right now. No, we don't have anything like that. The highest we'd be able to go is 1.5 in TIV for a rental and a million in Cave for a rental, or 1.25, sorry, but nothing above that. There's a question here about DIC with KW Specialty. Yes, everything would have to match up with your with your fair plan policy. There's a question here about Rivington taking risks with claims. They will consider one risk if they don't really want anything with multiple risks, multiple claims. Okay, they will consider one claim though. There's a question here about the carriers that require applications for submissions. We just need a standard Accord 80. Okay, standard Accord 80 is going to be fine. There's a question here about who will be more inclined on taking Airbnbs. I would say that would be American Modern and KW Specialty, as well as AU Gold. There's a question here about, do we have any markets that will take a home that is strictly heated by a wood stove? I do not know. That is a very good question, and I will get back to you with an answer on that one because I personally would like to know as well. There's a question here about KW Specialty and DICs. Yes, they will do manufactured homes. They do manufactured homes. They do prefabbed homes as well. They do a DIC for pretty much almost anything. Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in. I'll leave the floor open for another minute to see if anything else comes in. I just saw one just come in right now. Does Rivington insure homes in Malibu? Yes, that is a hot spot for them right now based on their appetite guide. I'm unsure if there's any moratoriums there, but as of today, I don't think there's any moratoriums in Malibu. But yes, Rivington is a option in Malibu for sure. Somebody's asking here about which of these carriers will take huge water losses. American Modern will, and so will KW Specialty. Question here about AU Gold writing liability for course of constructions. Yes, they will. Okay, I will leave the floor open for another minute to 30 seconds for more questions, and then I will end our session, okay? All right, I don't see anything new coming in, no new questions. So, okay, here's one more, sorry. From 1.5 million to 4 million are the only options, Rivington and Chubb. Well, Chubb, depending on the location, if you recall on my slide, it depends on the location. But yeah, Rivington is the only option for 4 million. Chubb obviously will go as high as you need them to go. But keep in mind, Rivington is not an option to place a normal high value home. Because of how their Department of Insurance filing is, you cannot write a low risk, high value home with Rivington. It has to be also out of the appetite range for brush for American Modern in order for them to consider quoting it, which means having a wildfire score of 41 and above. And Chubb is a place where you can place low fire score type high value risks, but you have other hurdles to cover, which are, getting that package that they want. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, I want to thank you again for joining me. I think that today's session was great. And be on the lookout for my email. I'm going to send all of you slides of this presentation. And I guess all I can say is we're looking forward to those submissions. And thanks again for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you and from those submissions. Okay, take care. Bye.